This afternoon, as most Jews are counting down the minutes until their first post-Passover bite of pizza, members of the Chabad community will be sitting down at thousands of tables across the world to participate in what is called a Seudat HaMashiach, the Messiah's meal. The meal is a custom first taught by the 18th century founder of Hasidism, the Baal Shem Tov, but expanded upon and disseminated in the early 1900s by the 5th Lubavitcher Rebbe. While I personally have never attended a Seudat HaMashiach, I hope to do so soon, having heard it described lovingly by my Chabad friends. It's a festive gathering, a Farbrengen, the final meal in the final hours of Passover, made all the more special this evening, given it's also the conclusion of Shabbat that mirrors the Seder with which the holiday began. Matzah and wine are brought to the table as celebrants sing Hasidic nigunim melodies, sharing words of Torah, meditating on the spiritual significance of Passover, and telling stories of the Baal Shem Tov. As with the Seder itself, 3 matzahs are eaten, no less than 4 cups of wine are drunk, the gathering reaching a crescendo with 8 nigunim melodies, starting with one taught by the Baal Shem Tov, and then one from each of the 7 Chabad Rebbes of blessed memory. The combination of song, wine, and most of all community is aimed to transport the gathering to another spiritual plane. So much so, I'm told, that it typically runs past the end of the holiday and the reopening of the pizza shops. And at the core of this 8th day Seder, as indicated by the name, is the Mashiach, the Messiah, and a prayed-for utopian future brought about by his arrival. Discussed at length is the nature of the Messianic age, what it will look like, and most of all, the steps we need to take in order to bring it about. It's heady stuff, I know, a subject which, to appreciate fully, requires that I take not one but 2 detours into the mystical scaffolding of Passover and ultimately into the essence of our soon-to-be concluded festival, but also into this hour of Yizkor, of memory, for which so many of us have gathered this morning. Detour number 1. As you may well know, Passover celebrates the liberation of the ancient Israelites from Egypt when God redeemed our people from slavery to freedom. All our Passover observances, our prayers, Torah and Haftorah readings, and most of all our Seders are expressions of gratitude for our nation's liberation from bondage. What you may not know, but may have intuited from this morning's Haftorah reading, is that as a week of Passover progresses, our focus shifts from a past redemption to a future one. The first hint comes in the Shabbat prior to Seder, when we read of the prophet Elijah, the harbinger of the Messiah. Today, on the 8th day of Passover, our Haftorah reading described Isaiah's messianic vision of the lion lying down with the lamb, the leopard with the kid, the dispersed gathering from the 4 corners of the earth, and God's name being known to all of Zion and humanity. In other words, by the time of the conclusion of Passover, our emphasis is less about a past redemption, but about an anticipated one. Today we're meant to be filled with the hope that the same God who brought us out from the thumb of Pharaoh's oppression will redeem us soon, a hope given ritual expression by way of Chabad's 8th day Seder, the Seudat HaMashiach. Detour number 2. As anyone who has sat down at a Passover Seder knows, the key to its success is stated explicitly at the very beginning, by welcoming people to the Seder table. Halach ma'anya. This is the bread of affliction which our ancestors ate, we say, holding up the matzah. Let all who are hungry come in and eat. Let all who are needy come and join. There is, as explained by my friend and teacher Erica Brown, a direct connection between redemption and extending hospitality, in that when we open ourselves up to the presence of another, when we welcome someone in, we signal that we know the heart of a stranger and have chosen to leverage our freedom towards welcoming loved one and stranger alike. It is this spirit of hospitality, in Hebrew, hachnasat orchim, that's a secret sauce or activating agent of Passover, the leveraging of our past affliction into present-day empathy, thus transforming what could be a rote telling of history into an identity-shaping call to action. If the point of the Seder was just to tell a story, it would look a whole lot different and be a whole lot shorter. What is the Haggadah if not a cast of characters welcomed in and year out, people and personalities, real, historical, imagined, the four children, Rabbis Eliezer, Yeshua, Akiva, Elazar ben Azariah, and so many others. The young, the old, the learned, the new initiate, everyone, a spirit of a welcoming that reaches fulfillment as we rise to welcome Elijah the prophet whom, as noted earlier, signals both a past and future redemption. The Exodus story may be about leaving Egypt, but it's in the act of welcoming people in by which our redemption is to be found. And it's by way of these detours that we are brought back to today, the final day of Passover and our present moment of Yizkor. Today, we look forward to a future redemption, a time when, by way of human effort and God's hand, the gap between the world as it is and the world as it ought to be is both narrowed and bridged. This is the message and hope of today, whether you do or do not attend a Seudat HaMashiach. And what is true of Seder night, so too today. It's by way of welcoming guests, the tried and tested activating agent of Passover that brings about future redemption. At Yizkor, our spiritual guests are not Rabbi Eliezer or Akiva, but the loved ones whom we recall. Our spouses, our children, mothers and fathers, brothers and sisters, companions, friends, and loved ones who no longer walk this earth. At this moment, in this sacred hour, the floodgates of memory open, and our hearts are filled with remembrances, acts of kindness, large and small, performed by our loved ones. We meditate on their high ideals, the values that they clung to day in and day out. We recall what made them smile, what made them cry, what made them laugh, and most of all, what made them them. The unique humanity that was theirs and theirs alone and can never be replaced. Our memories are poor compensation for the enormity of our loss, small consolation for the passing of our loved ones for whom we will ever long. Yizkor offers the souls of our wandering loved ones brief sanctuary in our heart and gives us, the living, comfort and inspiration in the gift of their memories. All of which brings us full circle. Because if on Seder night it is the act of welcoming by which our past redemption is found, then so too on this 8th day of Passover, it will be by way of remembrance of our loved ones in which our future redemption will be brought about. In welcoming the memories of our loved ones, in remembering their acts of kindness, not only are we comforted, not only do we hope the collective weight of their good deeds tip the scales of the heaven themselves, but we hope that such a remembrance impels us, the living, to live lives worthy of their high ideals. I recently had occasion to read Standing for Reason by John Sexton, the President Emeritus of NYU. The book itself is about university culture, but the epilogue is entitled Being Worthy of Lisa, and it takes a personal turn as Sexton tells of his loving marriage to Lisa Goldberg and the tragic January day when she died in an instant with no warning. Despite his grief, Sexton understood that he could not be immobilized in loss. It was she, not he, who had died. Rather, he writes, quote, "I try to live each day in a way that is worthy of Lisa's love, and I work to represent adequately both of us in the corporeal world. She devoted her life in ways far beyond my talents to bringing together the estranged people of our nation. I may think of myself as Don Quixote off tilting at windmills on a fool's errand, but I cannot think of Lisa that way, nor could anyone who knew her or who saw what she accomplished. So I am emboldened." I can think of no better way than Sexton's words to frame the meaning of Yizkor. Why do we remember our loved ones? We remember them so that in our own lives, we ourselves can be worthy of their love, that we can live each day worthy of our sons, daughters, brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, all those whom we recall today. Those remembering loved ones today know better than anyone else the painful shortcomings of our world, the yawning chasm between the world as it is and the world as we would wish it to be. Our loved ones have passed, and we miss them dearly. And yet by welcoming them now into our hearts, we will be emboldened, prompted to live lives filled with kindness, patience, tzedakah, intention, and most of all, love. We will live in a manner that will serve to narrow and bridge the gap between the world as it is and the world as it ought to be, because we will be living lives worthy of their love. And in so doing, one good deed, one mitzvah at a time, we will bring about the very redemption for which we so desperately hope and pray. Amen.
Amen.